You'll know you're in the presence of a critical spirit because they're condemning, denunciatory, disapproving, fault-finding, judgmental, accusatory, negative, unfavorable, nitpicking. They pick you apart from head to toe. And it's more than just the words. It's their tone of voice, the cutting remarks that go clear to the bone, to your chi, to your core, destroying any semblance of esteem you have. And of course, making sure that you don't feel joy. In fact, they can't stand for someone to feel anything other than negatively about themselves and the world. And they're sure that they know what's best for you, for all of mankind and womankind. And they're quick to let you know they believe they're doing you a favor, since they're convinced that, like themselves, you want to know every flaw, every mistake, every error, every blemish that exists. Those with a critical spirit are completely unconscious and unaware that when one finger is pointed at someone else, three are back at them, a concept that belongs in school curriculum prior to any talk of arithmetic. And it also reminds me of the state of the political arena today. The difference between the Roosevelt expansionists and the anti-interventionists. Roosevelt followers think it's selfish not to relay our secrets to those who are suffering, and that some countries don't even realize they need our help. And John Winthrop, on the other hand, talked about the city on the hill, by which he meant it was important that we first fix our own country before we go out and tell other countries what to do. He believed it was better to be an example so other countries would want to emulate the United States rather than forcing our politics onto them. Well, that's my philosophy. Being a critique and knowing it all for everyone else, well, that's not going to do it, folks. We have to lead by example, not by telling our children or anyone else, because nobody learns that way. People learn by what we do, not by what we say. Similarly, before we spend every waking minute telling everyone else what's good for them, we ought to look inside and fix our inners and be the woman or man we're meant to be. The critical spirit personality is so damaged inside they loathe looking deep into the dark confines of their psyche. So they have to escape by pouncing on every other Tom, Dick, or Harry. Most aren't even able to pinpoint or describe this kind of personality. All you know is you're uncomfortable in their presence to the point that you avoid their phone calls, you avoid spending long periods of time with them because you know they'll inevitably end up in a tirade of sorts and you'll be attacked and the arrows will start flinging from all ends. On top of that, you're confused because they seem to be loving and caring. You don't understand why they don't refrain from ripping you to shreds if they care so much. Or you go further and take the bait that they know best. And you start to fathom that what they say is gospel, because somewhere along the line you inherently picked up the fact you were incapable of deciphering right from wrong, good for bad, and that there is something defective in your makeup. You don't comprehend that you have all the answers within you. So you may as well receive tips from a pro, meaning anyone else but yourself. Well, if you can relate to any of the aforesaid, these are the traits of a critical spirit, and in society today, it's an epidemic. Not only that, but it's contagious. A critical spirit begets another critical spirit. It's in our DNA and gets passed on from generation to generation, unless someone breaks the cycle. I know this to be valid because I was born into a family of critical spirits and I've broken the cycle. Albeit many years of suffering, pain, and conscientious determination and relentless dedication to change. I was not going to let my daughter suffer the pain, humiliation, torture, and destructive shots that were taken at me from my critical parents and siblings. I knew the damage was irreparable, and that's why I didn't want to bring a child into the universe. I falsely ascertained that everyone went through a similar childhood. But when I discovered there was another way, that there were people who had positive, nurturing, supportive spirits in their families, I became lured and infatuated and magnetized to do whatever it took to become what I knew would heal me as well as cure the wounds so deeply embedded in my mind, body, psyche, and soul. I now recognize that I wasn't born that way. It's not about nature, it's about nurture, and those with a critical spirit come from at least one critical parent, and that the cause of a critical spirit is deep-seated in perfectionism. That is, someone who is critical of themselves on their own case. A perfectionist who must always do everything perfect. They're so hard on themselves, they walk around with a gavel, declaring themselves guilty at all costs. They're never good enough. Nothing is good enough. Nothing will ever be good enough, and there's no way to pass the bar. They raise it at every moment. Even if they reach their goal, they raise the bar again, and the goal gets higher and higher, never to be achieved, never to be reached. And since they're so hard on themselves, they're sure everyone else is also. And that's their job, to point out what isn't up to par